Hi, this is Alessio. Hope you're well. Many of you have been asking me to give you an update on the situation with silver metal. So in this video, I want to take a quick look at the chart of silver and essentially go through what I think is likely happening here and what I think needs to happen to give us the indication that a bottom is in on this correction in silver. All right, guys, join me. Alright guys, welcome back. And before I begin, I just want to say a happy 4th of July and a happy Independence Day if you're one of our American viewers. Okay, so going through the chart of silver, one of the things I like to do always is just step back and zoom out on the chart and essentially look at what is the overall predominant trend. So essentially after we bottomed in August, September of last year, silver has essentially been in an uptrend. As you can see, a series of higher highs. So what you can see here is a series of higher highs and higher lows. Higher lows here and higher highs here. And I still maintain the view that we are in a long-term uptrend in silver. Now, of course, could I be wrong about this? Of course. For one thing, the pullback here. So while I thought some kind of a pullback or retracement was probable in silver, it was a lot deeper than I had expected. And in fact, it came down. Silver recently came down and tested that 200 moving average there. This green line you see on my chart is a 200 daily moving average. As a matter of fact, if we just go on a higher time frame, let's just remove all these lines for a minute, and you can see not only did silver test the 200 daily moving average on the green line, but on the weekly, we've also tested now the weekly 200 moving average there, and we bounced from it here as well. So that's two important levels of support we've now tested. Again, 200 weekly and the 200 daily more recently, as you can see there. Okay, and again, as you can see from this image, we are in an uptrend, as shown to you by this yellow, this rising trend line. And I maintain the view that as long as silver remains above this purple line you see on my chart, so I'm going to point to this purple line on my chart here, that's at 21.2, I maintain the view that as long as silver remains above this trend line support and importantly this 21.2 level here, silver still remains in an uptrend, a long-term uptrend. Now, could I be wrong about that? Yes, I could. And if silver falls below this 21.2 support level here, that means I would have to change my mind, because a move below 21.2, which I don't expect, I think it's a lower probability, but if that happens, that would mean that we're likely not in an uptrend, because I would be breaking this trend line support, and especially if it takes out 21.2 and takes out the March lows, that would mean we're reversing in the trend and moving potentially in a downtrend or a bearish reversal. Now, let me say again, that is not something I expect. That bearish scenario to me is a lower probability. My higher probability still remains that we're in a long-term uptrend, provided silver remains above this trend line support here, this yellow trend line, and importantly stays above 21.2. Okay, so my view still remains long-term bullish for silver. Now, here's the bottom line though. Silver just managed to come back, test the 200 daily, as you can see there. But also importantly, silver has now come back to the 61.8% retracement of this rally. We just measured this rally from this low to this high. You will see that we tested the 61.8% golden ratio retracement at this red line you're seeing here, which says 61.8, as you can see there, at 22.28, which is the level we most recently tested, and we held, by the way, as you can see. So silver has held this important double support because of 61.8% golden ratio retracement, and it happens to be the 200 daily moving average. Actually, you could say 3 times support. We've got the weekly 200 as well we're testing. Okay, so I think this would be a reasonable level from which silver could potentially start a rally and indeed indicate that this correction is coming to an end. Having said that though, I need confirmation. So even though I think silver is potentially coming to the final stages of this correction, I think silver is getting close to a potential completion and bottoming of this correction that started way back in May, or perhaps even April, May. So I think the odds are increasing that silver is potentially bottoming here. Nevertheless, we have to be careful because silver has to give us a confirmation. By confirmation, I mean it needs to take out this trendline resistance. 23.5 is the level I need to see break. So if silver can get above the 21 EMA on the daily, but that's not enough. It needs to also get above this trend line you're seeing here, this downward trend line you're seeing here. If silver can give us a nice green bar rally and breakout and a close ideally above 23.5, this orange line you see on my chart, so a breakout and a close above 23.5, would be what I need as a confirmation to say that silver is likely bottoming here. Okay, so until that happens, I want to remain just a bit cautious here. Again, I still think that silver is in an uptrend. I still think this is coming to an end in its correction, but nevertheless, I need confirmation. Okay, because as long as silver, here's the important point, and it's about risk. As long as silver remains below 23.5, there's still a risk. There is still a risk it might make a lower low to probably this trend line support, or even this purple level, 21.2. So there's always that risk of potential test of 21.6 to 21.2, as long as it stays below 23.5. So that's what I'm saying. I think it's better to be cautious and just wait for that confirmation. Okay, so even though I believe that we are, I think the higher probability is we're in an uptrend, a long-term uptrend in silver, as long as the metal stays above this trendline support and 21.2. So even though I still remain long-term bullish on silver, nevertheless, I want to see confirmation. And confirmation, very simple. I just need to see silver giving us that green light. And ideally, I want to see a green bar above this orange line you're seeing here at 23.5. So if we get a close, a nice rally and a jump and a close above 23.5, okay, that would be the first important sign that bulls have regained control here, and that indeed this correction has come to an end, that this correction has bottomed, and that we're going to see much higher levels. Again, above the highs, and potentially towards levels like 28 and 30 in the longer term. Okay, so let's wait and see what silver does here. Okay, so quite simply, silver has to protect and stay above this trend line. Very important, it needs to stay above this trend line here, this yellow line on my chart. Why? Because that's the trend. That's the indication of a long-term trend. So it needs to protect and stay above that trend as much as possible, and ideally stay above this purple line at 21.2, my next support. So as long as it stays above that, and it gives us a nice clean breakout above this falling trend line you're seeing here. So it needs to take out that trend line and go above 23.5 to indicate that this correction here, which began in April, May, has come to an end, and that we're starting the next major rally to the upside. So let's just be patient and see what silver does in the coming days and weeks, whether it gives us this confirmation above this important trend line. Again, I still think that's the more likely scenario. I still think the more likely path for silver is to go higher, again, by the end of this year and in the longer term. But all I need now is that confirmation. All right, guys, that's what I have here. Thanks very much indeed. I look forward to seeing you in the next video update. Bye for now.